at this launch.
Young people stands at 21.7%. Millions of Ghanaians wake up every day not knowing where to go, what work to do, or where their next meal will be coming from. Just last year, a food insecurity report released by the Ghana Statistical Services indicated that about 8.4 million Ghanaians went a day without food. We are all too familiar with the 001 or 100 or 000. This has become a formula that most of us live by. And if you don't understand it, what it simply means is that where one stands for the only meal you have a day. And so if 8.4 million of us went a day without food, what it simply means is that that day was 000. At the same time, the Akufo-Addo government thank you. At the same time, the Akufo-Addo government is pumping millions of cedis. It's pumping millions of cedis.
And you're welcome to the Midday News on Shri FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kesmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Youth unemployment still a major issue of concern as the world marks Youth Day. Also coming up, the opposition NDC is outdooring its youth manifesto with its flag bearer promising jobs. A while ago, you heard the youth organizer in our live coverage. Much later, Electricity Company of Ghana blames cedi depreciation for its losses recorded in 2022. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Ghana continues to lose chunk of its highly skilled youthful workforce to opportunities in developed countries. As the world observes International Youth Day, calls have been deepened for political parties to reset their youth policies to curb the worsening trend. We'll be bringing you a special report very shortly, but let's cross over to the launch of the NDC Youth Manifesto, where the youth organizer for the party, John Opariado, is currently addressing the crowd.
One scandal being given to us. We elected governments to solve our problems. Unfortunately, this government has become our problem that you and I will have to deal with every day. Ayazu, to make issues worse and to insult us further, when we complained about this untold hardship and we cried out to our Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia, he goes round on stage and plays Onyame Eshrame Ashemu. God has blessed me and you are paid. That is what they give us with this comic dance all over this country. My brothers and sisters, we are very much convinced in our hearts and minds that given the frustrations and hardship being visited on us as young citizens of this country, Alhaji Bawumia and his NPP government is not somebody we can trust and allow to lead this country into the next year. From the ghettos in our communities, through the streets where the boys and girls meet, to the various campuses and halls through the community of young artisans, creative arts and professional groups, we have observed one thing. The language be very simple. Boys, they holla. Girls, they tire. Our young women have become the worst victims. Today, they call it hookup. They don't want to do hookup, but they are frustrated and are struggling, and so they must leave. Colleagues and comrades, young people of this country, we have reached a point where the only thing that matters to this government is not that we are becoming poorer or that countless young people, men and women, have lost hope in the country. The one thing that matters to Akufo-Addo and Bawumia and the NPP is enriching themselves at your expense, erasing the future, even if it means awarding a $34.7 billion contract to his daughters. They don't also care if your future means that willing the Achimota forest to friends and families. The worst of it is that they attack and dishonor the memory of our founding father, Dr. Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, and try to elevate their forebearers at the forefront of our politics. I remember one lawyer said, that when you go across the borders of this country and you mention J.B. Dankwa, they will mistake him for a footballer at best. That is what they know him for. But this government continuously try to run down people like Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the effrontery of it. For the last 7 years, we have watched our democracy decline gradually and accountability thrown to the dogs. According to the 2024 Afrobarometer report, President Akufo-Addo has grown increasingly heavy-handed, stifling the media and eroding the accountability of institutions. Never in the history of our Fourth Republic have we sunk this low as a country, but all hope is not lost. I believe in our strength and resilience of our young people to alter the course of history. And let me remind all of us, anytime the history of this country has been altered, that charge has been led by young people. And come 7th December, we will lead our charge to alter history.
And you heard the NDC youth organizer John Opariado speaking at that ongoing launch of the party's youth manifesto. We'll be crossing over as and when we have something coming from there. But like I was telling you, as the world marks the International Youth Day, calls have deepened for political parties to reset their youth policies to curb the worrying trend. Stanley Niblo put together the following report for us.
The youth, they say, are the architects of tomorrow's world. As a result, programs and projects have been tailored towards the development of the youth in advanced countries so they can own their future and impact it. Africa, which hosts one of the most vibrant, energetic and skilled youthful workforce in the world, is now losing them to opportunities in the advanced countries. Each day, professionals leave the continent in droves. Rising economic hardship, unemployment, poor investment in the youth, and poor policy directions have been the driving force for the mass exodus of the continent's professional workforce.
People will jackpot and forever jackpot. Because if you think the learning or education system is fluctuating, it means that there is a problem. So why don't we all fix it so that we all can attend or enjoy the same or stay at the same level?
I would probably want to go outside to further my education and probably come back. If I get a better opportunity, I might as well be there or come back. It depends.
The nurses in particular, they want to jackpot because the terms of service here in Ghana is not the best.
In Ghana, majority of the youth desirous to help change the fortunes of the country and put the nation on a higher pedestal have had their hopes and aspirations dashed because every sunrise under the past and present leadership only inflicts them with excruciating hardship. Currently, many have not even realized when they will heave a sigh of relief from their suffering tunnels. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, 38% of the country's 31 million population are youth, but unemployment rate here now hovers around 14.7%. Perhaps the observation of the International Youth Day, initiated by the United Nations, presents a fine opportunity for leaders of political parties seeking to lead the country to pause and reflect on how they can reset their prospective youth policies. Perhaps the observation of the International Youth Day, initiated by the United Nations, presents a fine opportunity for leaders of political parties seeking to lead the country to pause and reflect on how they can reset their prospective youth policies to benefit and retain youthful skilled workforce while harnessing the potentials of the locals.
The International Youth Day symbolizes a day where young people are unleashed into the world to become better versions of themselves.
The Opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, is outdooring its policy document aimed at empowering the youth and creating opportunities for them to thrive and succeed. That event is today. Meanwhile, the new Patriotic Party, poised for power retention, will also next week outdoor its manifesto, which intends highlighting in detail plans for holistic youth development. Mustafa Salam is the national youth organizer of the NPP.
You cannot take away from this government its contribution to youth development. When you look at employment, job creation, our record in job creation is very, very, very high. Well over 2 million jobs created and counting.
We'll bring you more of this report later. Meanwhile, a cross-section of the youth are this afternoon intensifying calls as well for the government to create more opportunities for the Ghanaian youth. Northern Region correspondent Christopher Amakon is following this for us. He joins us live on the line. Christopher, what more can you tell us?
Yes, so basically for the youth in the northern part of the country, they believe that the increasing rate of unemployment that has bedeviled this country is a matter of concern. And the youth is always at the receiving end of this. And so it is imperative for government to, as it were, roll out policies that are youth-friendly, that the youth will benefit from. Taking a clue from the national youth policy, the youth are calling for funding of the national youth policy so that the youth will also have a benefit of whatever that is happening in the country. Some of them have been speaking to me.
Okay, Christopher, we don't have that yet, but what more can you tell us about what's happening?
Yes, so the youth in the northern region, as it stands now, are saying that this elections is about Ghana, and so taking the elections and the various manifestos into consideration, they want to see either of the parliamentary presidential candidates to, as it were, include the youth development in their manifestos and also bring out youth-friendly programs that the youth in the country will have a benefit of.
Thank you very much, Christopher Amakon. He's our Northern Region correspondent. If you're just joining us, this is the Midday News on Shri FM 92.7. It's just some 12 minutes past the hour 12. Return to the issues of the youth, but ahead of that, the Electricity Company of Ghana has faulted the depreciation of the cedi against the dollar for its net exchange losses recorded in the 2022 financial performance report. Appearing before the Public Accounts Committee today, the Deputy Energy Minister Collins Adoma Comensa, an MD of the ECG, Samuel Mahama, attempted to explain the reasons behind the loss following the committee's concern over the losses recorded in recent years. Take a listen to what transpired for the question after the question by the Member of Parliament for Buem, Kofi Adams.
Financial performance for 2022 was compared with that of 2021, and it doesn't look so good. Your distribution expenses, however, also saw a huge jump, and administrative expenses also recorded same, above 30%, 36.3% for administrative expenses and 32.6% for distribution. Any reason for this?
Mr. Chair, our distribution costs going up is as a result of Forex. Most of our jobs that we do within ECG are all priced in US dollars. The meter purchases, the transformer purchases, the wood pole purchases, and in fact, the intensification jobs themselves are all priced in the United States dollars.
Whether these net loss includes payment made by government directly to the IPPs, and you said no. So I wanted to know the component of your payment to IPPs, which is captured under the grant, and which one you do in terms of percentage. Is it 30-70? Is it 40-60? Is it 20-80?
Mr. Chair, there's no direct or proper percentage agreement. It always depends on what the Ministry of Finance has available to them to pay to the IPPs versus what ECG also has available under the cash waterfall to pay to the IPPs, either on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. But for example, thanks to the negotiations that we did, currently ECG is able to pay the IPPs from its side per the conversations we've had with them. So government currently, if government makes any payment now, that will be considered as government addressing the legacy debts of the IPPs. But currently, ECG, from its exercises or its jobs that is doing on a daily basis, is able to pay the IPPs. But then again, will also bring us back to that Forex loss conversation, because the IPPs have to be paid in dollars. So on the spot market, on a daily basis. But we do have the Bank of Ghana assisting us with that exercise, where they are providing us with the requisite amount of dollars to take care of this issue.
Okay.
Now, you recall that recently residents of Ketu South Municipality in the Volta region demonstrated over what they described as unacceptable billing practices by the ECG. Well, the MD for the power distributor also acknowledged this challenge, but said the company is expanding its engagement in communities within the region to educate consumers.
We have actually engaged a few communities within the Volta region. We've done same within the central region, but from what you've said, we need to expand it and also intensify it. What we are realizing now is, what most people don't know is that meters do expire. Meters don't have a long lifespan. They do expire. And it's something that is not the fault of the customer. So it's something that we now have to go out there and educate everybody very well. So now you have meters that were mechanically working, but now you are moving to meters that are properly electronic. So at some point with the mechanic meters, when you are charging your phone, it's free. But when you're on the electronic meter now, it sees everything. Its calibration is 0.5. So every single action you take in your home will reflect. And let's also not forget that the PURC has increased tariffs over the period to a total of almost 75%. And the whole conversation of conservation of electricity should be brought back. So that's what we are looking at in terms of educating our customers and also making them aware that the mere fact that there's no plug in the wall socket doesn't mean that you should leave it on, because it's reading.
And you heard that the MD for the ECG, Mahama, there speaking at the Public Accounts Committee. That's Samuel Mahama, the MD for the ECG. Now, Muslims in the Wa community have come together to seek Allah's intervention for good rainfall. This was necessitated by over 40 days without rain in most parts of the northern region. As a result, crops and livestock are currently bearing the brunt. Upper West Regional Correspondent Ibrahim Wangara is on the bit for us. He joins us live on the line. Ibrahim, you participated in this prayer. How was it done? If you can paint a mental picture for us. Ibrahim, can you hear us? Hello, Wangara. Okay, we'll have to go back to Wangara to bring us an update on what's happening in his region. Let's try and see whether we can get Wangara to speak to. Hello, Wangara, can you hear us? Okay, we seem to have lost Wangara. Hello, Wangara.
I'm on the line, please.
Excellent. Can you tell us, I was saying earlier that you participated in this prayer for more rains. Can you paint a picture for us how it was done?
Hello.
Wangara, I can hear you. I was asking if you could paint a picture for us how this prayer for rains was done. You participated in it.
Okay. The prayer was started with the performance of ablution and a call to order by the regional chief imam. This prayer is said to be a sunnah prayer, which means it is a tradition of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and not an obligatory one. It is also a 2 rakat prayer, which is performed in congregation with specific supplications for rain. So this prayer brought together both young and old, male and female, as it was observed at the Jubilee Cut and Waf for Muslims to come together and seek Allah's intervention to get them relief from the difficult circumstances, which appears to be, or which is described as a calamity, a global calamity facing the northern part of Ghana. So basically, this is how the prayer was observed at the Jubilee Park. And then shortly after the 2 rakat prayers, the chief imam made an open prayer, that's a supplication, where he recited some verses of the Quran. And also, more interestingly, all the congregants were made to turn over their dresses or veils. That is to show a sign that they are turning the weather pattern around. Instead of the drought, they are now turning the drought behind and then to welcome rain within the area. So that is how the prayers was done in Wa.
Wangara, before you go, can you tell us how bad the situation is?
Come again?
Can you tell us how bad the situation is?
The rain situation here is so terrible, and more to the point, farmers are complaining because they are the most affected. They think that if they don't get rain, or currently crops are dying away, which can lead to reducing yields and then resulting in economic losses as well. The insufficient rainfall is also limiting irrigation options, forcing some farmers to rely on other expensive water sources. What I mean by other expensive sources is that some of them are compelled to pay water tankers to bring them or supply them water so that they could use it to apply on their farms. So the poor rainfall also affects livestock, as it has reduced grazing land quality and water availability for livestock farmers within the area. So these are some of the reasons that compel the decision for the Muslim community led by the chief imam to embark on such prayers.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Wangara. He's our Upper West regional correspondent. Let's get some answers to these questions being raised. We're joined by Felicity Ahiafianyo. She is with the forecast department of the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Good afternoon to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, and thank you for reaching out to the Ghana Meteorological Forecast Office.
Is there a scientific explanation for the drought in parts of the country, especially in the Upper West region, as you just heard our reporter tell us?
Yeah, most definitely. We have scientific reasons of proof why some areas may not be having rain at a particular season or time.
Are you able to tell us what they are?
Yes, for 2024, the rainy season, we predicted with our seasonal forecast that the first dry spell that happens within the rainy season is likely to be long. And then in the same document too, we indicated that some areas are likely to experience below the normal rainfall that they have been experiencing for the past 30 years. And in the same document too, we have indicated that some areas are likely to have slightly above the normal threshold when you put all the rainfall totals together. So whatever is happening over the north is in the known for us, and coming down to the factors that are contributing to it is that number one, we have our weather zones that normally move gradually over the north, get to its peak in the month of August. And as it moves with the weather zones. But 2024, we have it moving a bit faster, position itself around latitude 20 to 23 degrees with respect to Greenwich meridian. So all the active storms, all the rainstorms and thunderstorm clouds have pushed into the Sahel region over the north. So we have places, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger getting the rain. But then the system is not too massive because the factors are not too matured. So as it's supposed to spread and affect the north, it was not happening. And then another factor has to do with the surface pressure chart, which has intensified over the Atlantic Ocean, those around the St. Helena source region, pushing in a lot of clouds. But then the region has reached all the way to cover the entire country, making the flow anti-clockwise, which is not conducive for rain cloud formation. And then another third one that we have is that we have something we call little dry season that happens in the major and the minor season over southern Ghana. This year, we're having it extending over the northern sector. So they have cloudy weather to dull as if it's going to rain, but it's not raining. For southern sector, we were having some rains because our relative humidity was a bit high. But then their relative humidity was not that high, was low. So it was evaporating or consuming the rains that are supposed to be falling down on their area.
Briefly, in the meantime, are you able to give us an idea how those who are experiencing this can survive it?
Yes, for today, we have good news for them. We are anticipating the intertropical boundary to start its southward movement. If it happens like that, we expect the weather zones to start coming. Last night till this morning, some areas had rain. So we are anticipating that by the close of the week, those over the southern fringes of the northern sector should also get some rain.
Wondered here. Thank you very much. And you had there Felicity Ahiafianyo. She is with the Forecast Department of the Ghana Meteo Agency. Thank you for speaking to us now. Ghana's cocoa industry, once a pillar of the nation's economy, is now in serious decline, with production falling and fertile lands threatened by illegal mining and smuggling. The future of the sector is at risk. Wisdom Safo explores the challenges and what lies ahead for Ghana's industry.
Once the world's leading cocoa producer, Ghana lost its premier position to neighboring Ivory Coast in 1978 when production dipped to 159,000 tons, capturing only 17% of the global market share. After a gradual recovery in the late 80s and early 90s, cocoa yields in Ghana steadily increased, reaching over 900,000 tons in 2010. This upward trajectory continued until 2021, when the cocoa industry contributed over 3.1 billion cedis, equivalent of $533 million in revenue.
We'll bring you more of this special report much later, but we are crossing over to the NDC Youth Manifesto launch. The General Secretary of the party, Fifi Kwete, is talking. Let's take a listen.
It tells you involved, we are all involved, we are all involved in building our life. Thank you so much. Now it tells you that the NDC is a party whose anthem connects to the very anthem of the youth of our country. And both anthem calls upon us to arise for our beautiful motherland. The destiny of this country
is in the hands of you, the young people. This morning, as the young people were asked to stand, some of us actually had to sit because even though for a long time we've been called youth, we have to acknowledge we have gradually moved to the level where we can no more be exact youth today, and therefore we need to devote ourselves to serving the generation beyond, after us, for the sake of our country. And I want to say that the generation after us, you have a responsibility to salvage our country. Today, the flag bearer of our party will take time to unveil to you the policies of this party whose heartbeat is after the destiny of our young people. He will elaborate plans, which plans we believe will set this country back towards giving hope and prosperity to our young people again. Over the last 8 years, we've seen the hopes of our young people totally crushed. I don't think there's been any time in our history, maybe prior to 1982, when we've seen so many young people want to leave this country in droves as we have seen over the last 8 years. It's sad. It's sad that this country, that on the verge of 2009, when the NDC came to office, we had young people who were trooping back to this country from the US, UK, different parts of the world, because they saw hope of a country that was again looking towards building back. And unfortunately, over the last 8 years, we have seen nothing short of the collapse of the economy of this country and the loss of hope and the despair of our young people. Now, so we do know that the policies that are going to be unveiled today will begin to give you hope again. But the hope is not just in the policies. Because you know what? Anybody can have a policy. Anybody at all can have a policy. Over the last 8 years, we have seen policies that have been unveiled. How many of you remember NAPCO? What has happened? What has happened to that? Because it was nothing but a scam and 419 policy. It was a policy that was designed just for votes. The difference between us and them is that we think about policy first for progress before votes. Our policies are meant for progress before votes. So whereas they think about power, we think about progress. And that is the difference between a party that cares and a party that only one votes for the sake of votes. In John Dramani Mahama and the NDC, you are finding a leader of a political party that is not perfect, but a leader of a political party that has credibility and that wants to put the progress of our nation as number one. So these are policies that you can trust, as opposed to policies that are simply put out there in order to deceive you for your votes, and as soon as the vote is obtained, you are forgotten about. The young people of Ghana, we do not believe that our policies alone are going to deliver heaven. But what John Dramani Mahama is going to do is to reach out to you in a partnership, trusting that your creativity, your capacity to find your own answers, together with the policies we bring, are the means by which the transformation of our country can truly begin. So we want to thank you for this opportunity to reach out to all of you in your homes, in your workplaces, wherever you may be, asking you to give an opportunity for the flag bearer of this great party to reach out to you with detailed policies that you can trust. Policies that mean well for Ghana. Policies that are not just telling you things for the sake of power, but telling you things truly for the sake of progress. So I want to thank you once more for the opportunity. And once again, Pablo and your team, thank you for this great opportunity. God bless.
And you're still here on the Midday News on Sri FM 92.7. That'll be it for our extended version of the Midday News here on 3FM. But just gone by, you heard the General Secretary of the Opposition NDC, Fifi Kwete, there addressing the crowd at the launch of the party's youth manifesto. And in summary, he said the country, as in Ghana, has been run down by the current administration. He also went on to say that young people have lost hope. NDC thinks of progress of the country and not vote. And you heard him wrapping up there saying that the policies that the NDC is about to outdoor are policies that the Ghanaian youth can trust. And so those are some highlights coming there from the General Secretary of the Opposition NDC. Let's just have a quick wrap up before we go. We have again on the line with us Professor Kobi Mensah. He is political marketing and communications strategist. He joins us live on the phone. Prof, just briefly before we go, you've listened through the program so far. Have you heard anything that really will give Ghanaians hope? We are yet to see the policy itself outdoored.
Well, Beatrice, as I said, I think that we have, for a long time, disconnected, so to speak, the young people from the substance of the governance, although we had always used them and relied on them extensively for campaign rallies, for mobilization. But when it comes to governance, although we would have party manifestos, highlighting, youth, etc., we do not tend to stay on the youth. We had always concentrated on the sports. And even when it comes to a certain youth and sports ministry, those you find there are, mostly, so to speak, mature people, if I should use that word, or elderly people, maybe rightly so. And so I think that there's a focus on youth with a particular manifesto dedicated to that particular, constituency. I think would refocus our attention, hopefully, on that, productive, constituency. And I think that if really the NDC would actually implement and be faithful to that particular document, we should see a certain turnaround with regards to how we make use of our young people. And I would entreat other political parties to also, sort of look into that direction because, if you look at, currently the youth and sports ministry, with a focus on education, with a focus on sports, we don't necessarily have any substantive, programs and policy directions for young people, those who don't find themselves in schools or those who don't find themselves in sports. They become desperate, and we don't have any substantive programs for them. So perhaps a direction in this manner could actually change the tide, and we could see some progress.
Indeed, thank you very much, Professor Kobi Mensah. He is political marketing and communication strategist, just giving us his view there ahead of the unveiling of this youth manifesto by the opposition NDC. And this is happening at a time the world is also marking International Youth Day on the theme From Clicks to Progress. We'll bring you some more on that in our subsequent bulletins. That's how we wrap up the news here. We'll bring you update of this ongoing NDC Youth Manifesto launch as and when we have it. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Beatrice Adu. Remember that the live coverage continues on our social media pages as well as 3news.com. Have a good afternoon.